My hands trembled as I reached for the pen. The hospital discharge papers sat on the tray table in front of me, and my daughter Sarah was already pointing to the signature line with her perfectly manicured finger. "Just sign here, Mom. We need to get you home and settled." Behind her, I saw Maria, my home health aide, standing in the doorway. She'd been assigned to me 3 days ago after my hip replacement surgery. Maria's eyes were wide, and she was shaking her head frantically, mouthing words I couldn't quite make out. Then, she did something that changed everything. She pulled out her phone and typed quickly, then held up the screen so only I could see it. The message was in all caps: "Don't sign anything. Not safe." My heart started racing. The morphine was still making my head foggy, but something in Maria's desperate expression cut through the haze. I set the pen down. "I need to use the bathroom first," I said, my voice shakier than I intended. Sarah's jaw tightened. "Mom, you've been to the bathroom 3 times already. Can you please just sign so we can leave?" Brett's waiting in the car. Brett. Her boyfriend of 8 months. The man I'd never trusted, though I'd tried my best to be supportive. "I'll help Mrs. Patterson to the restroom," Maria said quickly, moving to my bedside. "Hospital policy requires assistance for post-op patients." Sarah looked like she wanted to argue, but the nurse passing in the hallway nodded in agreement. "That's correct. We can't discharge her until we're sure she's stable." As Maria wheeled me toward the bathroom, Sarah's phone rang. I heard her step into the hallway, her voice dropping to a frustrated whisper. The moment we were alone in the bathroom, Maria locked the door and crouched down to my eye level. "Mrs. Patterson, I'm so sorry to scare you, but you need to listen carefully. I wasn't supposed to be here today. I was covering for another aide who called in sick, but I recognized your daughter from the memory care facility where I also work part-time." My stomach dropped. "Memory care? Last week, she came in for a tour. She told the director she needed to place her mother immediately. That you have advanced dementia and can't make decisions for yourself." Maria's voice was urgent but gentle. "Mrs. Patterson, I've been caring for you for 3 days. You don't have dementia. You're sharp as a tack. You've been doing the crossword puzzle every morning. You remember everyone's names. You asked me about my daughter's college applications yesterday. I felt like someone had dumped ice water over my head. She's trying to put me in a home? That's not all." Maria pulled out her phone again. "Those papers she wants you to sign? I took a photo while you were sleeping this morning. They're not just discharge papers. There's a power of attorney form underneath, and a document that names her as your healthcare proxy with authority to make all medical decisions." She showed me the photos. Sure enough, beneath the standard hospital discharge form was a power of attorney document that would give Sarah complete control over my finances, my medical care, my entire life. Why? The word came out as barely a whisper. I don't know for certain, but when she was touring the memory care facility, she asked very specific questions about Medicaid spend down and asset protection. She wanted to know how much money you could keep if you were placed in state custody. My vision blurred with tears. I'd raised Sarah by myself after her father died when she was 12. I'd worked double shifts as a nurse for 20 years to put her through college. I'd given her everything, and now she wanted to take everything from me. "What do I do?" I asked. Maria squeezed my hand. "First, don't sign anything. Second, when you get home, check your medications. I noticed the bottles in your purse don't match what the pharmacy sent up this morning. Someone's been switching them." Before I could respond, Sarah's voice came through the door. "Mom, are you okay in there? You've been in there for 10 minutes. Maria helped me back into the wheelchair and unlocked the door. "Sorry, we were just making sure everything was comfortable. Post-surgery is always a bit difficult." Sarah barely glanced at me. Her eyes were on her phone, her thumbs flying across the screen. "Brett's getting impatient. Can we please finish this?" I looked at the papers on my hospital tray. Then I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. When had she become this stranger? When had the little girl who used to bring me dandelions from the yard turned into someone who could look me in the eye while trying to steal my life? "I need my lawyer to review these first," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Sarah's head snapped up. "What?" "These are legal documents. I want my lawyer to look at them before I sign anything." Her face flushed red. "Mom, don't be ridiculous. They're just standard discharge papers. Everyone signs them. Then there's no harm in waiting a day for my lawyer to review them. We don't have a day. The hospital needs the bed. They're discharging you today whether you like it or not." The nurse who'd been passing by earlier stepped into the room. "Actually, that's not correct. Mrs. Patterson has the right to have any legal documents reviewed by her attorney before signing. We can discharge her without those signatures and mail them to her lawyer." Sarah's eyes darted between me, the nurse, and Maria. I could see her calculating, trying to figure out what had gone wrong with her plan. "Fine," she finally said, her voice tight. "I'll take you home, and you can have your lawyer look at them there. But honestly, Mom, this is embarrassing. You're acting paranoid." That word. Paranoid. I'd heard it before, over the past few months. Every time I questioned something Sarah did, every time I expressed concern about Brett, every time I wanted to make my own decisions. "I have a better idea," I said, and I watched Maria give me the smallest nod of encouragement. "I'll take an Uber home. You go ahead. I know Brett's waiting." "An Uber?" "Mom, you just had surgery. You can't take an Uber. I'll arrange medical transportation," the nurse interjected smoothly. "We do it all the time for patients whose families have work commitments." I could see Sarah's mind racing, trying to find another angle. But with the nurse and Maria both standing there as witnesses, she didn't have many options. "This is insane," she muttered, grabbing her designer purse. "I'm trying to help you, and you're treating me like a criminal." She stormed out, her heels clicking angrily down the hospital corridor. The moment she was gone, I started shaking. Maria knelt beside my wheelchair again. "You did the right thing," she said softly. "Now we need to get you somewhere safe and figure out what's really going on." The nurse, whose name tag read Jennifer, closed the door. "Mrs. Patterson, I've been a nurse for 15 years. I've seen this before. More times than you'd think. Adult children trying to take control of their parents' assets while the parents are vulnerable. Do you have someone you trust who can help you?" I thought about my options. My sister lived in Florida. My best friend had died 2 years ago. Most of my colleagues from the hospital had retired and moved away. "My lawyer," I finally said. "Tom Henderson. We've known each other for 30 years. He handled my husband's estate." "Call him now," Jennifer said, handing me the phone from my bedside table. "Don't wait." My fingers felt clumsy as I dialed Tom's number. It was Saturday afternoon, but I knew he often worked weekends. "Please pick up," I prayed silently. "Henderson Law Office. Tom speaking." I almost cried with relief. "Tom, it's Linda Patterson. I need help." Tom had always been unflappable, but I heard the concern in his voice as I explained what had happened. Maria stood beside me, ready to corroborate every detail. Jennifer quietly took notes. "Don't go home," Tom said immediately. "Not yet. Can you stay somewhere else tonight?" I don't know where." "The hospital." "Can they keep you one more night?" Jennifer was already nodding. "I can talk to the attending physician. Given the circumstances and her post-operative state, we can justify another night of observation." "Good," Tom said. "Linda, I'm coming to the hospital right now. Don't talk to Sarah. Don't answer her calls. Don't sign anything. I'll be there in 40 minutes. After I hung up, Jennifer made some calls, and within 20 minutes, I was settled into a different room on a different floor. "Just a precaution," she explained. "In case your daughter comes back." Maria stayed with me, even though her shift had ended. "I hope you don't mind," she said, "but I feel responsible for you now. And honestly, I'm worried about what might happen if you're alone." "Why are you doing this?" I asked her. "You barely know me." Maria's eyes filled with tears. "Because someone should have done it for my grandmother. My uncle convinced her she was losing her mind. He got power of attorney and drained her accounts. By the time we realized what was happening, she was in a state facility, and he disappeared with everything she'd worked her whole life for. She died believing she'd been a burden to everyone." She wiped her eyes. "I swore I'd never let that happen to anyone else if I could prevent it." I reached for her hand. This woman, this stranger who'd been assigned to me by random chance, had saved me. When Tom arrived, He had a briefcase full of documents and a grim expression I'd rarely seen on his usually jovial face. "Linda, I need you to tell me everything that's happened over the past 6 months. Every strange thing Sarah's done. Every time she's asked about your finances. Every instance where she's tried to make decisions for you." So I did. I told him about 3 months ago when Sarah had insisted I needed to see a new doctor, a specialist she'd found who could help with my memory issues. I'd gone to one appointment, and the doctor had asked me strange questions, trying to catch me in contradictions. I'd refused to go back. I told him about how Sarah had been going through my mail, saying she was just trying to help organize things, how she'd insisted I add her to my bank accounts in case of emergency, how she'd been pushing me to sell my condo and move in with her and Brett. I told him about the medications that seemed different, how I'd been feeling foggy and confused lately, even before the surgery, how I'd chalked it up to getting older, to stress. Tom listened to everything, taking notes. When I finished, he sat back and let out a long breath. "Linda, I'm going to be straight with you. This is elder financial abuse. What Sarah's attempting could be criminal fraud. The medication tampering alone is a felony." "My own daughter," I whispered. "I'm sorry," Tom said. And I could see he genuinely was. "But we need to act fast. Maria, thank God for you. Would you be willing to testify to what you witnessed?" "Absolutely," Maria said without hesitation. "Jennifer, can you document the medication discrepancies you noticed?" The nurse nodded. "Already started the report. I also took photos of the documents Mrs. Patterson's daughter tried to get her to sign. They're in the patient file now." Tom pulled out a laptop. "Okay, here's what we're going to do. First, I'm filing for an emergency protective order. Second, we're going to contact Adult Protective Services. Third, we're checking your accounts first thing Monday morning. And fourth, we're going to make sure you have secure housing until we sort this out." "I can't believe this is happening," I said. "She's my daughter. My only child." "I know," Tom said gently. "But right now, we need to protect you. We can sort out the family dynamics later." Over the next 2 hours, Tom made call after call. Jennifer brought me dinner and made sure I took my pain medication, the real medication from the hospital pharmacy. Maria sat with me, occasionally squeezing my hand when the tears came. By 9 p.m., Tom had worked out a plan. Monday morning, we're meeting with a detective who specializes in elder abuse cases. We're also getting you into a secure temporary living facility, not a nursing home, just a residential hotel with security. Your credit cards are being flagged for fraud monitoring. And I'm drafting new power of attorney documents that explicitly exclude Sarah from any decision-making capacity. What about my home? My things? We'll get them, but not until we have police escort. I don't want you going anywhere near that condo while Sarah has keys. This feels like a nightmare." "I know it does," Tom said. "But Linda, you're one of the lucky ones. You had Maria. You had enough clarity to recognize something was wrong. Most victims don't realize until it's too late." That night, alone in my hospital room with Maria, sleeping in the chair beside my bed, insisting she wouldn't leave, I thought about how close I'd come. If Maria hadn't been there, if I'd signed those papers, if Sarah had succeeded in getting me declared incompetent, I would have lost everything. My home, my savings, my independence, my dignity, all because my daughter, the child I'd sacrificed everything for, had decided I was worth more to her as an incapacitated meal ticket than as her mother. My phone buzzed with texts. "Sarah, of course. Mom, I don't understand why you're being so difficult. Brett and I are just trying to help you. You're not thinking clearly because of the surgery. Please call me. We need to talk." I turned the phone face down and closed my eyes. Monday morning came faster than I expected. Tom arrived early with a woman named Detective Sandra Morrison, who specialized in financial crimes against the elderly. "Mrs. Patterson," she said, sitting down across from me. "I've reviewed the evidence your lawyer provided. This is a clear case of attempted exploitation. I'd like to ask you some questions, and then I need to talk to the staff here about the medication concerns." I answered her questions as best I could. She was kind but thorough, asking about dates, times, specific conversations. Maria was called in to give her statement. Jennifer provided the documentation she'd compiled. "I'm going to be honest with you," Detective Morrison said when we finished. "Cases like this are difficult to prosecute, especially when it's family. But you have something most victims don't: witnesses and documentation. The medication tampering is the strongest evidence. If we can prove Sarah was systematically giving you the wrong pills to make you appear confused, that's a slam-dunk case." "What happens to her?" I asked, and I hated how much I still cared about the answer. "That depends on several factors. The district attorney will review the evidence and decide whether to file charges. But first, we need to secure your assets and make sure you're safe." By Tuesday afternoon, I was settled into a residential hotel Tom had arranged. It was actually quite nice, a place that catered to people recovering from surgery or going through transitions. I had a small apartment with a kitchen, and there was security at the front desk. Tom had moved fast. My bank accounts were frozen, pending investigation. The locks on my condo had been changed. And most importantly, I had a new phone number that Sarah didn't have. Wednesday, the other shoe dropped. Tom called me with news. "Linda, you need to sit down for this." "I'm already sitting. Sarah and Brett have been running a scheme. This wasn't just about you. We pulled their financial records with the search warrant. They're in debt. Serious debt. Brett has a gambling problem. They owe over $200,000 to various creditors, including some very unpleasant people." My hand went to my mouth. "Oh no. They needed money fast. Your condo is worth about $400,000. Your retirement accounts are another $300,000. You were their bailout plan. But how did they think they'd get away with it?" "The memory care facility. Once they had power of attorney and you were declared incompetent, they could sell everything and put you in the cheapest state facility available. Medicaid would cover it. They'd pocket the difference." I felt sick. They were going to throw me away. "Yes," Tom said quietly, "but they didn't succeed, and now they're facing serious charges. The DA is filing fraud, elder abuse, and because of the medication tampering, potentially attempted assault. I can't believe this is real. It gets worse. We went to your condo with police escort to get your things. Linda, they'd already staged it. Removed most of your valuables. Made it look like you'd been living in squalor. They were building a case to prove you couldn't care for yourself." I started crying then, really crying. Not just for what Sarah had tried to do, but for the daughter I thought I had, for the relationship I thought we had, for the trust that had been shattered so completely. "There's one more thing," Tom said. "We found something when we were going through your medications. Remember how you said you'd been feeling foggy for months? The pills in your prescription bottles weren't your heart medication. They were anti-anxiety drugs, the kind that cause confusion and memory problems in older adults. She'd been drugging you, Linda, deliberately making you seem incompetent. That was when I got angry. Really, truly angry. The fog I'd been living in for months, the confusion, the moments where I couldn't remember simple things. It hadn't been age. It hadn't been dementia. It had been my own daughter poisoning me slowly, methodically, to steal my life. "I want to press charges," I said, my voice steady for the first time in days. "All of them. Whatever the DA recommends. Are you sure?" "Once we go down this road, I'm sure. She needs to face consequences. And other people need to know this can happen, that they need to be vigilant." The next few weeks were a blur of police interviews, meetings with the district attorney, and working with Tom to secure my assets. Maria came to visit me every day, even though she wasn't being paid to. She'd become more than my health aide. She'd become my friend. "How's your hip healing?" she asked one afternoon, bringing me soup from the restaurant downstairs. "Better than my heart," I admitted. "I keep thinking about all the signs I missed. All the times I explained away her behavior. That's what manipulators count on," Maria said. "They know people want to believe the best about their family." "Have you heard anything about your grandmother's case?" I asked. Maria had mentioned that my situation had inspired her to reopen the investigation into what happened to her grandmother. "Actually, yes. The detective found some irregularities. It's probably too late to recover the money, but at least we might get some answers." 2 months later, I sat in a courtroom, and watched my daughter plead guilty to elder financial exploitation and fraud. Brett had already taken a plea deal, testifying against Sarah in exchange for a lighter sentence. She didn't look at me. Not once. The judge was a woman in her 60s who'd clearly seen too many cases like mine. "Miss Brennan," she said to Sarah, "you targeted the most vulnerable person in your life. Someone who loved you unconditionally. Someone who sacrificed everything to give you opportunities. And you repaid that love by attempting to steal her autonomy, her assets, and her dignity." Sarah's lawyer tried to argue that she'd been under Brett's influence, that she'd made mistakes out of desperation. The judge wasn't buying it. This wasn't a mistake. This was a calculated, months-long campaign of abuse and fraud. You tampered with her medication. You forged documents. You attempted to have her declared incompetent when she was perfectly capable of managing her own affairs. In the end, Sarah got 3 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after 18 months. Brett got 5 years. They were ordered to pay restitution, though Tom warned me we'd probably never see a penny. As they led Sarah away in handcuffs, she finally looked at me. I don't know what I expected to see. Remorse? Anger? Something? There was nothing. Just emptiness. I went back to my condo that evening. Tom had hired a cleaning service to undo the damage Sarah and Brett had caused. My belongings were back where they belonged. The locks were changed. Security cameras had been installed. Maria was waiting for me with her daughter, a sweet college sophomore who wanted to meet the woman her mother had saved. "Thank you," I told Maria again. "You gave me my life back. You saved yourself," Maria said. "I just gave you the push you needed." That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in my living room, in the same chair where I'd sat thousands of times before, and I thought about everything that had happened. A year ago, if someone had told me my daughter would try to steal everything from me, I would have laughed. I would have said they didn't know Sarah. They didn't understand our bond. But the truth was, I didn't know Sarah. Not really. Or maybe I'd known exactly who she was and had chosen not to see it. I thought about the other seniors out there, the ones who didn't have a Maria, the ones whose children had succeeded in taking everything, the ones who were sitting in state facilities right now, convinced they were burdens, never knowing they'd been robbed. That's when I made my decision. I called Tom the next morning. "I want to do something," I told him. "I want to use my experience to help other people." "What did you have in mind?" "I'm a retired nurse. I have time. I want to volunteer with Adult Protective Services. I want to talk to senior groups about financial exploitation. I want to make sure what happened to me doesn't happen to someone else." Tom was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I think that's a wonderful idea. And I know just the organization that could use someone like you." 6 months later, I stood in front of a room full of seniors at a community center, telling my story. It wasn't easy. It never got easy. But every time I saw recognition in someone's eyes, every time someone came up to me afterward to confide their own concerns about a family member, I knew it was worth it. Maria was in the back of the room, smiling. She'd brought her grandmother's case closure, not through criminal charges but through a civil settlement that at least acknowledged what had been done to her. She'd started volunteering too, using her position as a health aide to watch for warning signs. After the presentation, an elderly man approached me. His hands were shaking as he pulled out a document from his jacket. "My son wants me to sign this," he said. "Says it's just to make things easier when I die. But after hearing your story," I looked at the document. "Power of attorney, with broad financial authority. Do you have a lawyer?" I asked gently. He shook his head. "Then let me give you a number." I handed him Tom's card. "Don't sign anything until you talk to him, and don't feel guilty for being cautious. Your assets are yours. You earned them. You have every right to protect them." He took the card with tears in his eyes. "Thank you. My son's been making me feel crazy for hesitating." "You're not crazy," I told him, thinking of all the times Sarah had used that word. "You're smart. Trust your gut." That night, as I locked up my condo and set the new security system, I thought about how different my life was now. I'd lost my daughter, but I'd gained a purpose. I'd lost my naivety about family, but I'd gained wisdom. I'd lost my trust in blood relationships, but I'd found it in unexpected places, like a home health aide who barely knew me but cared enough to risk her job to protect me. My phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. "Mrs. Patterson? This is Karen Mills. I heard you speak at the community center today. I think my daughter might be doing what your daughter tried to do. Can we talk?" I settled into my chair and picked up a pen. "Of course we can talk. Tell me everything." And as I listened to Karen's story, so similar to my own, I realized something. Sarah had tried to take everything from me. My home, my money, my freedom, my dignity, but she hadn't succeeded. Because I'd had help when I needed it most. Because I'd trusted my instincts. Because I'd found the courage to fight back. And now, I was going to make sure as many people as possible knew they could fight back too. My name is Linda Patterson. I'm 67 years old. I'm a survivor of elder financial abuse. And I'm not going to be quiet about it. Because somewhere out there, there's another senior sitting in a hospital room, confused and scared, with their child holding out a pen, and they need to know, it's okay to say no, it's okay to ask questions, it's okay to protect yourself, even if it's from your own family. Especially if it's from your own family,